What's going on, YouTube? So collabs can often produce interesting results. And this CX-50 hybrid is one of the latest automotive collabs.
And we've spent the last week with this Mazda powered by Toyota's famous hybrid system.
So, is this new hybrid just what the doctor ordered? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so let's start things off with the spec dump. Now, like I was saying at the introduction, this is a collaboration, and the part that's a collab is the powertrain. So we've got a Toyota-sourced hybrid system. It's their 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine with 3 electric motors producing 219 horsepower. That's going to be paired to an e-CVT and standard all-wheel drive.
Now, all that together will give you 38 miles per gallon combined. And of course, we're going to be discussing our real world fuel economy after using the entire tank of gas in the test drive section. So you'll want to stay tuned for that, as well as our sound level reading. We'll also discuss resale and reliability at the end.
Well, let's go ahead and close up the hood and take a look at the exterior as well as the interior. So as far as the exterior design is concerned, Mazda's not making any changes for hybrid duty. I think that's a good thing. This is a pretty well-received design overall, and everybody that we showed it to this week did think this was a pretty attractive-looking SUV. Now, this will be offered in 3 trim levels for the hybrid model. As you can see up here in the front, you've got that signature Mazda grille with the gloss black finish, and you have kind of chunkier moldings down here at the bottom. Now, in terms of our headlights, you have standard full LED headlights on board. These are projector LEDs, and you also have the signature daytime running light going through. Just be aware that you cannot get adaptive LEDs because that's reserved for the turbo models, not the hybrid. Down below, you have your LED turn signal indicator with the fading effect. And then walking around to the back, of course, the CX-50 always has that nice athletic stance.
Yeah, and for hybrid duty, it's really not going to be any different besides for this hybrid badge on the back. Now, Drew's hopping inside so we can check out some of the individual elements, such as our taillights. Our taillights are going to be very premium. I say this about a lot of Mazda products, but they're full LED, and that is going to be standard equipment, so that's really something that even some luxury vehicles don't give you, and I like the fading turn signal indicator. Now, as we drop down to the lower fascia, this is all going to be finished in a matte black plastic. You do keep the dual exhaust outlet, so I'm happy about that, even on the hybrid model, and your tow rating is 1,500 pounds.
Moving on to the wheels, 17-inch alloys will be standard on the hybrid. These are the 19-inch alloys. As you can see, a really good look to these. These are contrast design. They do have different designs as well across the board from the other models of the CX-50. You got the beefy cladding around the wheel arches. You have a little dedicated hybrid badge, and then up top here, our mirrors have the gloss black finish. All models will have heating and blind spot monitoring. We also have power folding on board, but another turbo exclusive feature is driver's side auto dimming.
Now, at the sign of the CX-50 hybrid, it comes in at an overall vehicle length of about 185 inches. And as far as some design touches, we do have some roof rails up top. Now, with their safety systems, I'm happy to tell you that Mazda is including every single one of those as standard equipment, and we have found them to operate pretty smoothly over the last week. But now let's go ahead and dive inside the cabin because there's a lot of luxury in there, and we want to talk about our 7-day impressions. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, time to move to the interior. Here is our typical Mazda key fob. As you can see, you do have a standard smart entry system. Remote start is via the Mazda app. And getting inside is as easy as just grabbing behind the handle since there is a sensor on it. Now, take a look at the interior. Just like with the exterior, hybrid doesn't mean you see any design changes, although there are some different features depending on which trim level you choose. Now, let's start by talking about the seats themselves. You will have a leatherette on your standard hybrid model. The other 2 trims come with a real leather. This is the Premium Plus trim, so we've got the real leather. As you can see, very nice look to this. I like that they've put the accent stitching and piping through the seats themselves, even though this is just the traditional black option. You can also get a red option, which is a special touch for the hybrid duty. That's what we sampled the first time we spent a couple days with the CX-50. Now down below, we've got our 8 ways of power adjustment and 2-way lumbar support. Models with real leather also get memory seats. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now that I'm inside the vehicle, let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the cabin materials, because this is one of the big reasons you might want to choose a Mazda over many of the rivals, because we have a lot of high quality materials such as leatherette all through the armrest, center section, and this nice piece running through the middle with the cross stitching. It is a soft touch plastic along the top of the door trim and all of the top of the dashboard. You have more leatherette with a cross stitch going throughout the center section. And then down in your center console area, you have a little bit of piano black trim. And then this part here is not padded. I kind of wish they put a little bit of padding right there. But otherwise, this is a very, very solid and super luxurious feeling interior for the segment. Let's go ahead and fire it up with our push button start. After firing up the vehicle, we can go ahead and take a look at the gauge cluster. We have a partially analog and partially digital cluster. The center section is customizable with a few different things. And obviously, as you can see, you do have special hybrid dedicated gauges. Now up above, you'll notice we also have a head-up display. That's included on this Hybrid Premium Plus. Now, as I pull back to the steering wheel, of course, you do have a nice leather-wrapped steering wheel. It is manual, tilt, and telescoping, and all models have rain-sensing wipers. But what I really want to talk about is just kind of generally the fact that Mazda has the same trim names, but depending on which powertrain you choose, it does actually change what types of equipment you get for that respective model. So it's pretty confusing, but this is one of the examples, because even though this is the loaded Hybrid Premium Plus, we do not have a heated steering wheel. You have to have the Turbo Premium Plus. And you're going to see a couple more features that I'm going to point out as we go through this interior that are the same way. Now, coming over here to our center console, let's start to talk about interior storage. So as you can see, we have the nice split design on board for this console. And inside, we have some donuts, you'll see. Obviously, this is Car Confections. Our emblem is a donut. That's why we like to put donuts inside the console to test the volume. And in this case, today we're fitting 8. So it's not going to be a class leader, but it is decent. Now, in front of that, you can see we have a wireless phone charging pad. That's included on all hybrid models. You have 2 large cup holders, and then you have a storage cubby up there in the front. One thing I do want to point out about the cup holders, it's a real world example. Mason's wife has a big bottle, one of those Stanleys, and it actually is so tall that it pushes up here and turns off the climate control or turns on the heated and ventilated seats. So just something to keep in mind. It's a little bit of a practicality issue with this weird positioning right underneath of your climate controls. Now pulling back to the shifter, you have a shifter from Toyota. Pull back for drive, bump to the left there if you want to go through some manual simulations. And then when you go into reverse, you'll see a standard backup camera. This is one of those other features that I was talking about, because the 360 camera, you have to get a Turbo Premium Plus trim level. It's not available even on this Premium Plus Hybrid. And there are no active trajectory lines either, which is a bit annoying. Back here, you have your electronic parking brake with your brake hold function. In the center, you have a control knob for your infotainment system. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then you also have a conveniently located volume knob. 2 out of the 3 trim levels come with the Bose 12 speaker sound system. And let's go ahead and give that a sample. Yeah, so overall sound quality is pretty good. After I went in and kind of tweaked with the settings a little bit, because it is very bass heavy in its default setting, it actually sounds quite good and better than really many of the options in this segment. Okay, so let's zero in back with the climate controls. I already discussed with the kind of usability with the cup holders, but in terms of their actual functions here, it is a dual zone automatic setup. Very easy to use. I appreciate it's all just analog and laid out super simply. Of course, you do have your 3-stage heated seats as well, and then seat ventilation comes on this top spec model. Both of those features do work very nicely, which is not a given. Now up top, you'll notice we have our 10.25-inch display. In typical Mazda fashion, it is, quite far away. That's because it's not designed for you to touch it. You're supposed to engage with it using the control knob, and you have to when you're inside of Mazda's display. However, when you're in Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you can allow touch abilities at all speeds. Rising above here, you have an auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes. And then, of course, wrapping up the front of the cabin, you'll see we have a large panoramic sunroof here on this top model. The front panel does open up, and you have a sunshade.
Now let's talk about the rear seat area of this CX-50. Now when it comes to overall space, let's dive into that first. Mazda says it's going to be about 39.8 inches of leg room and about 38 inches of headroom. Now those figures do actually place it on as one of the largest options in the segment. However, we all review every single option in the segment, and my personal experience is going to say that this is definitely on the smaller end of this compact segment, especially when you cross shop with RAV4 and CR-V. Now, as far as how much knee room we have behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, I'm 5'9" for reference. We're looking at 6 inches of knee room. My feet can also slide up underneath of the seat. Now, when it comes to features in the CX-50 hybrid, you will notice that we have vents. Those are going to be standard on every single model. You do not have your own climate controls, and you will have 2 USB-C ports. The thing I do want to point out, though, is that we will be missing out on heated rear seats. That's not available on the hybrid at all. Once again, one of those features that is reserved exclusively for turbo CX-50s. We do have a central armrest with 2 cup holders inside, though, and then if you turn over to the door trim, you'll notice that it's mostly the same as the front, although the top part will be hard touch. The center section and all of the armrest area is leather covered, and then we do have room to fit a Stanley water bottle here in the door storage. That's pretty impressive for how large it is. Now walking up to the tailgate, we do have a power one. That's going to be included on the vast majority of any CX-50. However, no hands-free ability on this model. That's an interesting thing. As far as the space is concerned, we're going to be sitting at around 29 cubic feet of space behind the second row of seats. If we fold those seats down, we're looking at about 56 cubic feet. Now, it is worth noting the hybrid does reduce your cargo capacity ever so slightly behind the second row of seats. It's only about 1 to 2 cubic feet, so nothing really to worry about in terms of space, but that does mean that this is one of the smallest options in the segment. It's going to be a lot smaller than RAV4, CR-V, Rogue, most of your main rivals, so keep that in mind. As far as features are concerned, the seats do fold 60-40 split. I like that they include the handles, though, to fold the seats from the cargo area. The vast majority of the rivals are not including stuff like that. Speaking of the seats, though, I did forget to mention in the second row they do not recline, so that's a little disappointing. Now, this is a Car Confections review after all, so let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. Overall cargo length behind Drew's driving position is around 74 inches. From behind the second row of seats, it's about 42 inches. As far as width, 41 inches wide, and then height is coming in at about 27 inches tall, so a little bit shorter than most in the segment. We do have a spare tire integrated underneath, even here on the hybrid model, so I'm happy to see that. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Mazda CX-50 hybrid. Of course, that's a big part of this review, is how does it drive overall. We'll be answering a lot of those questions, as you can see on the screen right now, with the contents, and we'll also be getting things like our signature sound level reading. But first of all, we want to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration. 60 miles per hour in the new Mazda CX-50 hybrid. Now, overall acceleration, as you can see, is actually pretty swift for a compact SUV. And, that's not too surprising to me overall because, as we said in the spec dump with the CX-50 hybrid, what we have on board is actually a Toyota-derived powertrain. This is the same one that they use in the RAV4 hybrid, which is actually, ironically enough, a vehicle that this will compete with. And overall power is quite good. It's 219 total system horsepower. Definitely is enough to get you off the line, but really the thing that you notice the most about this is because it's a hybrid powertrain, you have that electric torque that gets you off the line. So that really definitely helps the overall experience. This is a big upgrade over the standard 2.5 liter that you can get in the CX-50.
Yeah, so this has 3 powertrains, and the hybrid kind of fits in the middle. You can still get the turbo if you really want the maximum power. But like I said, this is probably a good compromise because it is a good improvement in overall power from the standard 2.5 4-cylinder engine. And obviously, you're going to get a big improvement in fuel economy. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Now I just accelerated once more, and by the sound of it, you might be able to tell that what we have transmission-wise is actually an eCVT. That's the same setup, of course, that they use in the Toyota RAV4. The responsiveness is quite good, honestly. For a hybrid vehicle, I honestly have no issues at all with this eCVT. It really does a good job of giving you the power when you need it. Now, if you do prefer a more traditional experience, Mazda will happily give you a traditional automatic as well with the other 2 gas powertrains.
Yeah, absolutely. And all trims will come with standard all-wheel drive. Looks like we're at 55 miles an hour, so it's a good time to get our sound level reading. Alright, so we settled in at the lowest rating of 56.1 decibels, which is pretty good for this segment, and especially considering today's windy conditions.
Yeah.
So we're on our typical stretch of road, but it's really quite windy. There's a front moving in, and that's pretty good, like I said, but I don't have to guess. You can always go to carconfections.com/sound level readings, and that's where you can compare this model to all of its rivals. And when you look at that in reference to rivals, that does put it right around some main competitors, such as the Hyundai Tucson, also the same kind of rating as the RAV4 Adventure and the Mitsubishi Outlander.
All right, and I'm about to go around a corner. I went ahead and put it in power mode. It actually does not have a sport mode here on the hybrid version. And boy, am I happy that I'm in a CX-50 when it comes to driving dynamics. That's really something that Mazda always prides themselves in doing, is giving you a good performing vehicle out here on a back road. And I know probably a question that a lot of you guys had is, sticking some Toyota componentry in the CX-50, does it really change the overall dynamics? And I am happy to tell you it does not at all. We still have absolutely phenomenal steering. Really, Mazda does the best steering outside of a few German luxury brands that might have them be, it's super responsive and just quick. Also, I'm very happy with the overall body as well. There's almost no body roll at all, even going around corners quite quickly.
Yeah, CX-5 and CX-50 as a pair really stand out for the driving dynamics. They stand above all the competitors. They continue to do that. And the fact that you can now get a hybrid powertrain is really fantastic. It's just something we've been asking about, and we finally have it, and if you're going to borrow from someone, borrowing from the best is never a bad move, that's for sure.
Exactly. And I'm just cruising around in EV mode right now, which means the engine is completely off. And that reminds me to talk about fuel economy. Of course, that's a very important part about the CX-50 hybrid. And as far as the EPA rating, this vehicle is rated at 38 miles per gallon. So that is about 2 mpg worse than the RAV4, but that's still a very, very good number overall. And as far as our real-world fuel economy, drum roll, please.
It's on the screen right now. We do have a little bit more miles to make sure that we get almost all the way through the tank, because we want to give you guys, the best picture of what its real-world fuel economy is with both city and highway driving. We still have a couple more days in our time with this model.
Yeah, logistically we had to film a little bit earlier, but we will be giving you that final number on the screen right now. I am suspecting it is going to be a very good fuel economy figure.
Yes, the first time around for those couple days we were sticking very, very close to that EPA estimate, sometimes even outperforming it. And that's typical for Toyota hybrid systems, so that's what we're expecting.
And I think that has to be today's slam dunk, is just the addition of this hybrid model. I really do think this is a perfect move for Mazda, because the CX-50 is a fantastic choice, but a lot of people nowadays are looking for more fuel-efficient options, especially within this segment. I believe a quarter of all RAV4 sales are in the hybrid model, so that shows that there's a lot of demand, and I think the CX-50 will do well for them. Actually, as a matter of fact, I believe in their presentation they said they were hoping to sell about 40% of CX-50s in the hybrid configuration.
Yep, that's what Mazda's expecting. I think that is something very much that they can accomplish. Like Mason was saying, many of the rivals already accomplish 25 to 50% hybrid. CR-V is close to 50% hybrid, and so is Tucson. So definitely something that people really want, and I think is going to certainly elevate this as a great option in the class. Now, I will go ahead and chime in, though, with the airball. That's going to be the fact that you cannot get full equipment on the Premium Plus Hybrid. I don't know why Mazda does this, but all their models are like this. You have the same trim name, but depending on which powertrain you have, it gives you different equipment. It's very confusing for us when we're explaining it to you, but also to everyone who's shopping for a model, and it does mean that you're going to be limited. So you miss out on things like having that 360 camera.
Heated steering wheel. It's cold outside today. Yeah.
Why? It doesn't make any sense. You can get those features in the hybrid versions of all of the competitors, so it just gives this a weird, downside versus all the rivals that you can shop between. And lastly here, let me mention the warranty coverage, which is 3 years, 36,000 miles for your basic, 5 years, 60,000 miles for your powertrain, and Mazda does not have complimentary maintenance.
And now let's talk about pricing for this hybrid CX-50. And I'm happy to tell you that it's not going to be much of an upcharge for choosing the hybrid model, since we start at $33,790 for the hybrid preferred trim level. Of course, you do also have standard all-wheel drive. If you want the hybrid Premium Plus, like what we've seen today, $40,050 is your starting point. And as far as how this one's equipped, you can see that on the screen right now. Now, if you're looking to buy a Mazda CX-50 hybrid or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a car is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. Now, first up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Mazda CX-50 hybrid's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 59.44% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 25.2%. Now, it's worth noting that it's actually a very good resale value by percent. The only brands that will be better would be Toyota, Honda, and Subaru. So this is the fourth best among all vehicle brands.
Now, we've also done the same for vehicle reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies from trustworthy sources on reliability and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Mazda is rated just about exactly at the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our reliability as well as our resale data and our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Guys, that's going to be where we leave off on this in-depth 7-day review of the new 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, because that was really the main point of us making this video, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get more car reviews like this, as well as 7-day long-term impressions as well. So do yourself a favor, subscribe down below. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.